All right, y'all, check this out. So we have arrived to the area where the petroglyphs are. And Brian showed me where they start. And let me show you these real quick. Check that out. There's some right there. And he said that there's a second level of them up here. But let's go.
There's like, you know, the spirals for
Yeah.
like universe. I don't even know.
This,
I honestly don't know what a lot of these things mean. It's kind of hard to see them. But like, for example, like this one right here, like these spirals.
Yeah.
You get a lot of these around here.
Are there, you got any spacemen?
Yeah, yeah. And then like back up in there, you can see like it's a totally different style of petroglyphs. And you see like the hands. Like if you come up, smack you there. Like the hands like this right here. Give me to grab that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and another thing too, like we all think around here, all the locals think that this right here is a representation of that mountain that you're like, oh, those are cool looking cliffs.
Yeah.
We see this all over the place that goes up to Cross Mountain, because if you look at it from the top, it looks like this.
Yeah.
Now, how in the world would they know what it looks like from the top?
That's true.
Like looking down from the air.
That's true.
That's kind of an interesting thing to say. But you look over here, I mean, you see all these, you see like footprints, and then hands and different symbols. And then like birds, you'll see representation of birds.
So
and then I don't know, I have no idea what this stuff is.
It's graffiti.
Let's pull this back and see if so like squiggly lines and stuff like that. But see, like this one right here, I mean, that's obviously a hand. But see how many of these there are?
I know.
They're all over the place. And you'll see a bunch more as we go around.
Is that a person over there?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then same, yeah, what's cool is on camera, you can always see so much more. This is awesome. All right, cool. There's some stuff over here which I want to show you, which I think is pretty spectacular. And then a couple of things that I wanted to point out is that there were two major periods of activity here with the Native American folks. First, you had the Prescott culture, which started in 200 AD, and then they left the area in 1400 AD. And then after that, the Yavapai and Apache operated in the area. So a lot of these petroglyphs that you're seeing here, these are not the older ones. Generally, it's looked at as those were kind of like the newer ones from like Yavapai and the Apache. However, if you come over here, there's one that you can see, and you can really see it on film. So if you stand back right there, you can see what looks like kind of almost like a DNA seat, like a ladder. Yeah. That comes up here, and then you've got ones that are over it. So they think that that one was from the Prescott culture, and these were from the Apache. Interesting. And the Yavapai, because you can see how much older that rock art is. Can you see it? Yeah. So yeah, so that's a real good example of a very, very old, like very old rock art, and then more recent rock art over it. And this is still hundreds of years old, like the somebody tagging over somebody else's property. Yeah. Look up, and then up there. Yep. And what's interesting about that are the real big fingers and toes. And there's also other ones around here that have 6 and 7 fingers and 6 and 7 toes. Nephilim. So you wonder. Nephilim. Yeah. I mean, the native folks have 100%. Say like, no, we don't think that they existed. We know they did. What's this over here? So a lot of the people that were like homesteading in the area, there's one over there too. Yeah. So this one was from a gal that was probably born in the area, or a guy, Fred Barlow. Oh yeah, that's Barlow. That's the Barlow family. They're huge in this area. Are they? Yeah. The other ones over there, those people were from 1911, and so Are they actually buried here? Yeah. Are they? Cool. Yeah. So, and then there's another one that's down there a ways. The Barlow family's huge around here. The history from them. Let's see here. Put on a little bit more. I think the next set is for another 10 or 15 yards. The one thing about it is you can tell that nobody comes back here because there's no worn trail. Yeah, exactly. And it's always like this. So, yeah, let's get in the truck and then we're going to cruise down because it's kind of on the other side of all this heavy growth. This is an area south of where I live, just a little bit beyond where those petroglyphs are. And I was hiking through here because I just thought this is a pretty area. And as we were coming on the trail, this is about a year ago, I started looking down. I was like, all these stones looked like they've been worked, you know, and flint mapped and stuff. So we got back up in here, and lo and behold, we have a ruin. Now this has really, really been degraded over the years. But you can see clearly the wall that goes this way.
Yeah.
So it was more of a rectangular one. And now check this out. You come over here and look on the ground. And you start looking on the ground, you start to see all these different pieces that were worked by the native folks.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I mean, you know what they were gonna make here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, see how sharp that is? I mean, that is razor sharp. And these sort of flakes and scraping tools like that are literally, this is what's all over the ground here. Now another thing that's cool too is if you start to look real close, you'll see pottery.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a bunch of pottery on there, and there's different styles of pottery too. So this is kind of more of a utilitarian style pottery. Not really anything of great significance. Same with like the gray pottery that you see, that's very utilitarian.
Yeah.
And it's just basic pottery that they would use for everyday stuff. When you start to see anything that's like, there is one around here. Gosh, where did I?
Ceremonial type?
Yeah, there's one that's got some drawing on it.
Yeah.
And it's around here somewhere. I'll remember where it is. Whenever I come out here and I see this stuff, I always have I keep like a mental note of where they're located, because I don't take anything. You can technically remove arrowheads. That's legal.
Yeah.
Because President Carter signed that into Congress to say, okay, the Antiquities Act applies to, like, you know, big pieces of pottery, the public land, all that stuff. But arrowheads, they're a dime a dozen.
Right.
And so, especially when you look around here and you see all this stuff on the ground, you're like, okay, you know, what's underneath, just right under the surface? You know, there's probably a bunch. But let's see, I want to try to find some more pottery. So when I find it, I'll holler. But, you know, looking at all these different scraping tools, that's what all these are for processing food and processing meat and working with things. I mean, they're all over the ground. It's everywhere that you look. And then you have, you know, more pottery here, and this one's a little bit curved.
Yeah.
So you can tell that was probably like the side of a bowl or something, you know, of how that works. You'll also find pieces that have lips on them still. And the reason why these areas are kind of so beat up is because of the cattle.
Yeah.
Because the cattle will come through here, they don't mean any harm, but they don't know any different, and they just step on stuff, and it makes the pottery turn into like little shards. When you can find larger pieces of pottery, sometimes they'll fit together, you know, but this one, obviously this one doesn't. But a lot of times, if it's an area that hasn't been hit a ton, but there's a piece of pottery that's broken, typically the pieces that are sitting there can be put back together in like a little bowl or something like that.
Now, have you ever been up into these hoodoos?
Yeah, and so there's another ruin that's right over there.
Okay.
So we'll go into that here in just a little bit. But this is the area which has by far the most stone tools and all that stuff, compared to, like, you know, where we were at with the petroglyphs and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll come down here for hours and just stare at the ground.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. I think it's so interesting to see. So I'm going to try to find that pottery that has the markings on it. And of course that's not from here, you know. So
right.
I brought that in from a long ways away. And you look on the ground, you're like pottery. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, it's been broken up by the cows over the years, but it's still here.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll get them back. I'll keep eating ribeyes.
And then you see something like this, and you wonder if that was the saddle they were trying to create, and they got one side done but didn't complete this one, or how were they working that? That's another thing too, is I try to figure out what the pieces were and what they were trying to go for. And
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to get this much history off the ground.
And it's so cool. I mean, I know we looked at this one earlier, but just to feel how sharp that is, it's like, you know, so you're looking at like a finger tool and you think, okay, well, let's put it here like this and I'll just process meat, you know, and that's how they did it.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Could clean a fish with that.
You know, it's wild to think that the craziest thing, in my opinion, is to think about this stuff and think, okay, there were people living in the United States 300 years ago in the Stone Ages, and they were doing just fine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just amazing that we still get. I mean, eventually the Earth will, you know, consume all this stuff. The ruins, you know, they're all made out of rock, and so they'll start to crumble. We already see a lot of them in Sedona that are starting to crumble. But it's cool that we're alive at a point where we can see this stuff. You know.
You know what though? When people come after us and they find our McDonald's cups,
Yeah.
they're like, I wonder what they were going for here.
Yeah. Like they were trying to destroy our society.
At least they're leaving stuff that's pretty.
Yeah, exactly. All we're leaving is trash.
I know.
Their trash is cool.
I know.
Ours is horrible.